Jalen and Cam Whitmore, which you don't matter. But
What's up, guys? It's Wednesday. Chuck and Smitty here with Occupy Fantasy to bring you the strategy for DraftKings and FanDuel. Awesome slate today. I originally thought it was kind of going to be tough with all the injury stuff, but I think it's great. I think we found the edge. Smitty, how are you feeling about today?
good. I think it's one of the better slates we've had in a while. It's a good sized slate, so I'm ready to break it down.
Yeah, and Jose right out of the gate. So straight to the meat of it is Ty Jerome and Porter Jr. locks. Yeah, I'm going to attempt something new today and go game by game. We'll see how long that lasts with the questions, but this is the first game on the slate. It's the most important. Smitty, I mean, this is a disaster of a game. What's the starting point?
Yeah, I mean, we have pretty much anyone that handles the ball is out, like Darius Garland, Karis LeVert, Sam Merrill's going to be out, which they're missing two of their starters just from yesterday with LeVert, Struss, and Dean Wade out. I don't know. There's just everyone out. But, anyways, I'm expecting Craig Porter to start and Ty Jerome probably to pull the start. Either way, I think they both look like two of the top plays on the slate. I'm getting to a lot more Craig Porter Jr. right now than I am Jerome. Just he's $1,000 cheaper. It's easier for him to hit value. But both of them look really good. I'm getting to a little bit of Niang too. Just they're short on body, so I kind of think Niang has a decent role. But overall, I think they look pretty good. Mainly going to the cheaper pieces there. It's just hard to see the like Donovan Mitchell, Mobley, Allen. I just don't think their minutes are going to be full.
Yeah, so Donovan Mitchell played 40 minutes yesterday, and Darius is out today just for rest, I'm pretty sure. And
Yeah.
so it's not NBA Cup. They have no reason to prolong the minutes. It's a 15-point spread, 14 and a half. And this is one of those I look at it, I'm like, Cleveland should win by like 25 tonight. I mean, are you comfortable projecting a blowout?
Yeah. In this game, I definitely would be.
Yeah, because I have interest in paying up for Donovan Mitchell. I think he looks awesome today. If I knew he was going to play 33 plus, but he might not even get the 33 we haven't projected for if the game's out of hand by the fourth quarter. So I agree with you. Yeah, we're going to get to the value pieces, and the top three values on the slate are coming from this game. They're the three guys projected for the highest ownership: Ty Jerome, Craig Porter, and Jamal Cain. And so, I mean, I don't think that Ty Jerome and Craig Porter are locks, but I'm pretty sure they'll be my two highest exposed players today.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing that is interesting, I guess, I don't know how much it matters, but Cleveland don't play again for 2 more days, I believe. So, I mean, maybe there's a possibility, but I don't know.
I will point out Donovan Mitchell looks pretty good with OF index. Evan Mobley, I don't know if we actually pointed this out on the stream yesterday. I was looking at it after, but Evan Mobley was higher than Donovan Mitchell in the model yesterday, ended up smashing. But Donovan Mitchell retakes his crown today, under 10% ownership. I don't know. I think he's okay. He was my favorite tournament play yesterday, and he barely got there because he went off at the end. But I mean, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, New Orleans doesn't even have any pay ups. So yeah, I think I agree with Smitty that we're going to be looking at the value here. And during the stream intro, I kind of alluded to fading Jeremiah Robinson Earl, but let's take a closer look at the New Orleans side of this. And I mean, what pieces are we getting too heavily from here?
For me right now, I'm getting to a lot of JRE, but I mean, that could change. It's just that's kind of my raw build right now. But I think Jamal Cain looks like one of the better value plays. He's feels a tough position, and then Brandon Boston, he's probably too cheap. It's just they have no ball handlers like Elfrid Payton. I'm expecting to start at point guard, and they don't have a backup point guard. So I think Brandon Boston probably gets the backup ball handling duties, which makes him an even higher usage play. So I think his minutes are really secure. He probably plays even in a blowout. And then Javante Green, I also think is pretty interesting. But one of the players I'm getting to quite a bit, we have him at 19% ownership, is Antonio Reeves. And it's also his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, Antonio. This is a guy I was looking at earlier, and we've had this already. Okay, I was just looking at him actually. We've had this a few times already this season where we'll have a guy who hasn't even played a full game's worth of minutes in the NBA step into a starting role, and now we have to project him for a bunch of minutes. He's been okay. I mean, this isn't terrible, but what kind of ownership are you getting to Reeves on DraftKings at the flat min?
Right now, I have 50% of him.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a heavy bag of Reeves.
yeah. I just
Uh,
think he has the upside to play the full game. I mean, I don't know if I start the slate with 50% of him. Things could change, but I think he's a strong play.
Yeah, that's the tough thing. Since this is the first game, it's not like we can just swap off of it later. Whatever we start with, we're stuck with. We haven't projected for 25 minutes. If I'm not mistaken, that's higher than the rest of the industry. And so that could be one of the spots that we take advantage of, just get to a little bit more of him. And I will point out, it's a small sample that we have in Antonio Reeves because, like I just showed you, we don't have that many minutes on him, but he projects as one of the better values on the Pelicans at the flat min. And then over on FanDuel, he's good value, but he doesn't stand out as much. But DK, Antonio Reeves, flat min, projected for 19% ownership. We have him at 25 minutes, and this is extremely volatile. I mean, it could be less, it could be more, but he's probably a play that I don't know how he's even getting 19%, but we'll see what he comes in at.
Yeah, another thing I will mention on him, not to just keep going at him, but he is shooting guard small forward eligible, which makes him an even better play.
And then about Brandon Boston, like I've been ripping on him and with on streams with Nick recently, and Nick likes Brandon Boston. I like Brandon Boston. I just thought his price was getting too high, but now, like you mentioned, he's the only ball handler. If I'm not mistaken, they signed Elfrid Payton today, so they have another point guard, and he's expected to play. But they literally signed him off the street. He has not been practicing with an NBA team. He's not in the player pool, and so I don't even know how many minutes he can play, and I'm not even sure how much it matters that much, but it will take away a little bit from like Brandon Boston and whoever else ends up handling the ball here.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of expect them to just throw Alfred Payton into the starting lineup, but
Yeah.
who knows?
And so the last note on Brandon Boston, I will point out the model is not identifying him as a strong value at the 6K. Like he's a little more expensive than these guys, so it makes sense his value score is lower, but he's not super standing out. So this is another spot where I don't think we have to play as much as the field. Like 28% on DraftKings isn't too bad, but 50 on FanDuel's. I don't know that I'm getting much less than that, but just it seems kind of heavy.
Yeah, I agree. And in a blowout, he probably is the first one out. If they take anyone out, it's probably him. Another thing we didn't mention is Missy is questionable as well.
Yeah, and so, well, if Missy missed, then I'm probably going to take back what I was saying about Jeremiah Robinson Earl, just because he's like the only tall player on their roster. I don't even know Trey Jamison. Trey Jamison's
Yeah,
playing today.
he's been pretty heavy in the not heavy, but he's been getting some minutes in the rotation. They've been going to him over Tice a lot of the time, so Tice would probably come back into the rotation. And then Matkovic has been getting minutes at the four. He was pretty good in the summer league, but I mean, I don't know if I would have a lot of interest on a full slate.
Yeah, like I have interest in Makovich, but if you told me for sure he was going to play 25, I'd probably just play like 70% of him today. But we have no idea what his minutes are going to look like.
Yep.
Let's go to the next game, Chicago Milwaukee. Pretty interested in this game. Should be high pace, high total. Milwaukee's a decent favorite, and Giannis is looking like he's going to be one of the most popular plays on the slate. Makes sense. He's the best pay up, and we have all the value. So, what are we doing with this game?
Yeah, I'm getting to a ton of Giannis. It's hard to not play him today. There's just not like we don't have a Jokic or a Luca or someone like that to pay up for. So we have all this value. Might as well play Giannis. I think he looks pretty good. The Bulls, Patrick Williams is normally the one that will defend him, and they don't have him today. So I don't know who they'll start today. I kind of lean they'll start Torrey Craig, but pretty much Giannis is just probably going to run all over them. But I think the Bulls, it's pretty much him and Dame are the only ones you can really play. Brook is fine, and Bobby Portis is fine in GPPs, but that's pretty much my main interest for the Bucks.
Yeah, I have like I'm gonna have all the Giannis on this slate. Not much of anyone else. A little bit of Dame. You mentioned Bobby Portis, and I feel like most of the time he'd be a GPP play on almost every slate when he's under 6K. But something about his minutes have been so weird recently, and so can't trust him. His value score is in the toilet. But I mean, we always know he all he has to do is come in and hit a few threes, get a couple blocks, and he could get there. Um, from the Bulls side, I mean, Kobe White. I've been talking about how I think Josh Giddey's losing minutes, and that held up for like a game and a half. Not sure how true that is anymore. We only have him projected for 28. That's still not great, but I mean, are you interested in running it back with anyone from the Bulls?
My highest exposed right now is Kobe White. He's probably my favorite there. And then Zach Levine's fine. I think it's pretty much White or Levine for me. You could play a little Vooch, but that's mainly it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of what it is. I'm getting a decent amount of Kobe White, and then just a few percent of everyone else, just kind of mix-ins. Let's see if we have any questions on this game. Yeah, Giannis is confirmed in as per usual. Let's go to Indiana, Houston. So Miles Turner is back, so that takes away the Obi Toppin, and I think Jarace Walker was questionable too, right?
Oh, Turner's confirmed in.
Yeah, Turner's in,
Okay.
and Jarace. We still have him in. He's questionable. We'll have to see if we get an update there. I think the spot to look at though here, you mentioned Amon Thompson earlier. If Jalen Green's out, and that's probably going to be one of my favorite tournament plays on the whole slate if we get that.
Yeah, I already really liked Sengun as well today, and with if Jalen Green misses, that just helps his usage even more. But Almond, he looks like one of the best plays on the slate. Shooting guard, small forward eligibility, 5,500 on DraftKings. Assuming Jalen Green's out, he looks like one of the top plays on the slate.
Yeah, I have to agree. Everyone from Houston's going to get a boost here. I think the most interesting piece, I already mentioned Amon Thompson, and then Tari Eason is, he's going off. I have to imagine this ownership is going to shoot through the roof if Jalen Green's out. So how should we handle like saving roster spots for this game? Are you already building as if Jalen Green's out and just boosting everyone else?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I like boosting the other Rockets. I have Van Vliet, Sengun, even Jabari boosted a little, and then Eason and Thompson. So I'm getting to like 50% almond right now, which I'll probably have more than that if we do get that news. It's just like a starting point, so I don't use too many roster spots in the early games.
That's interesting. Did you mention Dylan Brooks was a player you boosted or no?
No, no, but I mean you could, I guess.
I gave him a couple minute bump. Looking at the other side, Indiana. So Miles Turner is going to be back. I don't know that the price is adjusted to where it's like, oh, they're priced for Miles Turner to be out. He was only out for one game. What players are we interested in from the Indiana side?
Um, Mainly just Matherin and Siakam for me. I mean Halliburton looks okay, but it's mainly Siakam and Matherin, and then maybe a few shots of Miles Turner. But the Rockets defensively are just really good.
Yeah, Rockets are, for some reason, they're a team that I don't love targeting players against. Pascal Siakam, we haven't projected for 34 minutes. I think that's low. I gave him 36, and that extra 2 minutes is enough to bump him pretty decently in my exposure. So I might be like 4 or 5x the field on Pascal. 20% Pascal is a lot today when he's projected for 4%, but that's, I think, where I'm going to end up around. That's what I'm at right now. And you mentioned Benedict Mathurin. His price is up a little bit. We haven't projected for 34 minutes. I don't even think he played 34 in the last game, did he? But he's going to be a player I'm still interested in until he gets above 7K. But like Smitty mentioned, this is a tough matchup. So maybe today we don't have to target him heavily.
Yep.
Let's see. Anything else on Indiana? I think TJ McConnell was questionable too. Ben Shepherd also questionable. Are they just all questionable?
They're all questionable. Shepard, Jarace, Furphy.
Okay. McConnell's not questionable. That was a mistake by me. Let's say Ben Shepherd gets ruled out after this Pelicans Cleveland game locks. We're going to get that news 5 seconds after that game locks. Is TJ McConnell going to come in pretty under-owned? Because I imagine if we had that news right now, his projection would be much higher and he'd be projected for much more ownership.
Yeah, I do think he probably comes in under-owned. Seems like a pretty decent spot for him. He's under 5K. I like him a little more on FanDuel just for his stock upside, but I think you could pre-plan for that as well. Or you
Yeah.
could, if you start with Almond, you could always switch to McConnell if we got that news.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options to swap off if you start with that, and I think it's better to start with that than to try to swap into it. To swap out of it, I should say. So that's a spot I'm gonna try and boost before that game starts. TJ McConnell.
Yeah, I like that.
Let's see. What do we think about McConnell? Got him. Didn't even see that one. Thuggin. We'll give you the top Yahoo values in between these games. Yeah, Jamal Cain, Ty Jerome, Craig Porter. Looks like those are going to be the top 3 values all around. Lindy Waters, assuming he starts again, which I probably think he does. This 3% on DraftKings is a little bit too low. Jeremiah Robinson, Earl, Aaron Wiggins. Yeah, good luck on Yahoo today, man. Let's see. What is the next game? Memphis, Philadelphia. This should be a quick one. Philly, is there anything we're interested in with Tyrese Maxey coming back?
No, not really.
It's like they're all priced for him to be out. I will point out, I don't know that we have enough of a sample size to really know what Jared McCain's usage is next to all these guys because this has never happened before. But Jared McCain's OF index is insane for a 6,300 player. His DK value is very high. He's coming in under 10% ownership. Again, I don't think the model has data to know his usage rates next to these guys, but I mean, would you be comfortable with McCain as kind of a pivot off of Brandon Boston?
Yeah, I don't hate it. With Maxi back, it's just hard to know. Oh, I guess he's still questionable, but it's hard to know really what his usage is going to be. But they will need him to score, especially with Embiid playing how he is. So I don't hate it.
Okay, another mistake by me. I thought Maxi was just in. I didn't realize it was still up in the air. So if Maxi's out and we get that news after the Pelicans game locks again, Jared McCain's probably another guy that we can target. And it's like, yeah, his price is a little bit high and Embiid and Paul George are back, but we saw his usage rate still be pretty high last game. And it's probably going to come down as the season goes on. But at under 10% play, like at under 10% ownership, even with Embiid and Paul George back, this is not a fish play. I think Jared McCain's perfectly fine.
Yeah. And Maxi probably won't be full either way. So I think McCain's a pretty solid GPP play. And then Paul George is getting 29% ownership on FanDuel. I think that's too high.
I actually didn't even notice that. Yeah, I mean, I definitely still have interest at 7,600 on Paul George, projected for 34 and a half minutes. 30% high. I mean, I'm not going to full fade him. I don't know what I'm going to end up on FanDuel. I haven't ran it yet.
Yeah.
From the Memphis side, I saw a comment about Bane's going to go off tonight. I think Smitty and I have been messaging each other that like 7 games in a row, and he's just not breaking 30 minutes. Like we still have him projected for 31. I don't think he plays 31. He hasn't also since he's been back, right?
No, they're just so committed to this 11-man rotation. It's so hard. But yeah, I had like 30% of him last night, and he was like 5% owned. But of course, he shot like 0 for 8. So
Was Miles Turner confirmed in?
I think he's still questionable. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah. Again, power. Sorry, I'm mixing up questionables within. So we hopefully we'll get that news before the stream ends.
If he's out, that changes quite a bit.
Yeah, because we'd go right back to Obi Toppin, and then I don't know if we got tricked by Jarace Walker. He just had a bad game, but his ownership was for sure incorrect last game, 60%. From the rest of Memphis, I saw someone mention Jake LaRavia. I got 10th in 5 cent on FanDuel last night out of 120,000 entries for $10. So sick. Didn't post a screenshot for obvious reasons, but Jake LaRavia was in there. Yeah, 2% owned. He's going to pull a ton more ownership today. It's funny how that works, but I wonder if these minutes, he's projected for 28. Like Jake LaRavia, were you looking at him today?
I have a few percent in my early run right now, but definitely not as much as the field's getting there.
And do you think this? So he played 28 yesterday against Denver in a close-ish game. I mean, I don't know that we can project him for 28 minutes because that was kind of more than he played in the games before that. I know Marcus Smart's probably out again, but I don't know. This seems really fragile.
Yeah, kind of just seems like chasing to me.
Yeah, like, and I love Jake LaRavia when he's under 10% ownership and no one's thinking about him, but this is the type of player I don't love targeting when he's chalk. I'm still going to play him. He's a great play at his price. That's why he's pulling this ownership, but it's probably a little bit too much. And I just want to mention Santi Aldama because I had interest in him yesterday, but off the bench, how can we play him at 6K? But he still played 30 minutes. I mean, is this worth a GPP shot or is it just too much today?
Yeah, I guess you could with Edie out, and I thought LaRavia was questionable too.
Is everyone just questionable today?
Yeah, pretty much. He was questionable, but I'm not sure if he still is. But if LaRavia's out, I mean, then Santi becomes a really good play, but his ownership probably comes up. But yeah, I think you could take shots there either way.
Not that we trust DraftKings, but DraftKings doesn't have a Q tag on him. So someone let us know, though, if we're incorrect on that. Memphis, Philly. Brandon Clark, I think we should talk about him real quick because he started. I think we were pretty excited to play him. He was also in that lineup. 38, 4,100. His ownership's in the toilet compared to what it was yesterday. Are you interested in going back?
Yeah, I like him more on FanDuel, of course, just because he has a power forward eligibility. But you could play him on DK. I just don't love it taking up a center spot, but I think he's a pretty good option today.
Yeah, the type of guy who I'm probably not going to play a ton like I did yesterday, but just make sure I have him in my exposures.
Yep.
Okay, move on to the next one. Portland OKC. So this is a fun one because Hartenstein is questionable. Uh, I don't know. Does it affect much? I don't think anyone in the world expects this game to be close, but somehow it's only a 12-point spread. It's even closer than Pelicans Cleveland.
Yeah, I thought yesterday was kind of weird too. How OKC was only I think it was like 9 point favorites or something, and then you seen what ended up happening. But yeah, I think if Hartenstein comes back, his minutes will be pretty limited. They're just going to move guys around. It don't really affect a ton, except they'll be better defensively. But Jalen Williams wouldn't be playing the center, so he might lose a little bit on his rebounding rates. But overall, he's still a pretty solid play.
Yeah, pretty interested in Jalen Williams. Also helped me win $10 last night, but his ownership is higher than it was yesterday. I don't know that it should be. We haven't projected for 33 minutes. I initially thought that was kind of low, but I think when I look, that's probably appropriate. 34, 35. So it's hard to project him for more than that. Like Smitty said, I don't think he's going to lose minutes to Isaiah Hartenstein, but maybe it affects his rates a little bit. We have Hartenstein projected for 16 minutes. Are you comfortable with that, or do you see him playing a few more if possible?
Yeah, I would think 16. I don't think they're going to really rush him back. I would say in the range of 16 to 20 would probably be pretty good.
Yeah, that's about where I'd put him, just under 20. And so we've had this value on OKC for the last few days. It's kind of just shuffling around, but I think it's pretty clear, and the model agrees. Lou Dort is probably the guy that you want to get from the cheaper guys. And then the model's still identifying Jalen Williams and SGA as two of the top overall plays. They're both in the top four. So I don't think Hartenstein coming back affects him that much. It's a much closer spread than it should be. And this is a team we want to target players against in Portland.
Yeah, I agree.
Noel is not in the NBA anymore. He got cut this morning. They brought in Elfrid Payton. I don't know, more traditional point guard. Yeah, it sucks, dude, because this was his chance. He's like, all right, four-string point guard, my time to shine. And they just say, nope, see ya.
He's playing okay, too.
Yeah, I thought he was fine. I think he's good enough to be a third string anywhere in the some places in the NBA.
Yeah.
On the other side of this game, though, did we have Donovan Clingan as a cover boy today?
I'm
right?
not 100%.
Might be making that up, but Portland. Robert Williams' price came up a little bit on DraftKings, came up a bunch on FanDuel, which is great. Projected for 15% ownership. Are we going back to Robert Williams?
Yeah, I like Robert Williams today. In my early run, I'm underweight on him. Just other players, I think, carry more value. But overall, I think he's pretty solid. And then Klingon probably starts here. He's center only, which gives him a little bit of a hit. But at a quarter of the ownership, I think he's a pretty interesting play as well.
Yeah, the 5,200 on FanDuel. He's a GPP play. We've seen it. He could get 6 stocks, I guess, maybe. But over on DraftKings, he's projecting as one of the better values, 4,500. Tonight, do you have any qualms about playing Robert Williams and Klingan in the same lineup?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do it.
Okay.
They just haven't shared the court together.
I think I would agree, but I do like getting to one of them in a bunch of my lineups. I think actually, yeah, Robert Williams is in my single entry build right now. And then is there anyone else on Portland you're looking at? Shaden Sharp?
Yeah, Shaden Sharp. He just looks good. 5,600. He did get a price increase, but the usage has been there. The minutes are kind of a concern, and the matchup as well. But I still think he's a pretty solid GPP play.
Yeah, so he lost maybe like 4 minutes in the first half last game due to foul trouble. Came in the second half, played extended minutes anyway, and he was going off, right? So this 5,600, and he's only projected for 2% and 1% ownership. Now, I get that this is low, especially on DraftKings because of the Cavs, the Pelicans value, but this is still incorrect. He deserves much more than 2% ownership tonight. And imagine like one of those guys fails and you pivot in Shaden Sharp and he puts up a really good game. I don't know. I think it's a really solid pivot here.
Yep. And you don't even have to play a ton. If you just get to 10%, you're 5x the field.
Sharp with no Simon should be pretty good, especially with both teams playing quicker. With Simons, you're not sure how good a play he is. The thing is, like, is Simons questionable today?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he was just out with an illness. So we'll see. This will be his third game missed with a illness. This dude is sick. I mean, how much is it? Let's say Simons is in. How much is that going to take away from your interest in Sharp?
I have Simons built in right now, and I'm still getting around 10%. So I think I would just have more interest in Sharp if Simons is in or out. I mean,
Okay, nice. I actually have Simons in too, and I'm still getting to Sharp. I didn't even notice I had Simons projected for minutes.
yeah, same.
OKC side, we already talked about OKC. Atlanta Golden State. This is a pretty interesting game. Lindy Waters, top of value for this game. I mean, what are we doing here?
I have like literally no one here. I have a little bit of Steph and Jalen Johnson. I think they're both kind of just GPP plays. Steph is probable, so I'm assuming he plays. It has a high total. It's just everyone's priced correctly in this game, so it's really hard to get to.
Yeah, and I mean, with that high total and these prices, we know that a lot of these guys have ceilings. The ownerships are all in check. I mean, like Smitty said, I'm around the field on Steph, and then I have 10% Lindy Waters, 8% Draymond, and 2% Andrew Wiggins. So I guess that's kind of in line with what the model thinks.
Yeah,
There was someone. So Golden State's tough because similar to Memphis, they play a big rotation. No one really is guaranteed big minutes except for Steph, like not even Draymond sometimes. But I mentioned Lindy Waters. We haven't projected for 22 minutes. Steve Kerr seems to like him, and I don't know that this matters much, but he played uh, college or high school with Trey Young.
yeah, it's high school, I think.
It's got to be so fun, dude.
Yeah,
Um, so Lindy Waters hasn't had a great game recently, but he's coming in for 3% ownership, 3,800. He is another pivot off of those other Pelicans, Cavs, and the model's identifying him as good value, even only at 22 minutes. So I think this is a guy that we probably want to mix in a little bit.
yep,
At least on the night slate, he's probably going to be a pretty solid play. And then Atlanta had something funky going on with their players, right?
yeah. Let's see.
They only have 8 players listed for more than 10 minutes.
Well, Jalen Johnson's questionable, but I think everyone else is pretty much in.
Okay, I don't know who my brain thinks someone's missing here, but so with everyone in, I mean, these kind of like the other team, these guys are all priced appropriately. DeAndre Hunter's been awesome. I don't know that I'm going to get to much other than him or Trey Young though,
Yeah, same here.
and Trey Young just a few percent to mix in. See if you have any new questions. Is Simon's playing? I'm not sure. He's questionable with illness. I guess I have my stuff built as if he is playing. I might adjust that, or I might just boost Shaden Sharp anyway, so I get more of him. Shirley Dyson Daniels sits on Steph.
Yeah, he probably does.
It's not a bad point. Steph gets the Dyson experience, so let's see. Best last piece 5,100. So we'll just take the slider here. I'm assuming that these guys are a couple of these guys are probably already in your lineup, but if you want to use up most of the salary, Tumani Kamara is a deep one. Rissa Shea, Missy. Honestly, I would probably just spend a little bit more or play one of these slightly cheaper guys and upgrade someone else.
Yep.
All right, next game on the dock. Knicks and Phoenix. So we got a couple pretty great spots to talk about Knicks and Phoenix. I mean, what are your starting points here?
Yeah. I'll start with the Knicks. I think, or hold on, let me pull that up. Yeah, I'll start with the Knicks. I think the Knicks look pretty good. I like taking shots on the Knicks mainly just because, especially in GPPs, you know they're going to get the minutes. So when they're low owned, I think they're definitely worth shots to mix into your lineups. Like Mikal Bridges, OG, even Campaign looks pretty good here, considering his ownership at 0%. But Tibbs is going to play guys he trusts. You can like pretty much the whole industry is going to under project guys because they can't project them for 40 minutes if they're selling it to paying customers. But like personally, you could put Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart at like 40 minutes and feel pretty comfortable, which that's about 2 minutes higher than we have them at. So I think that alone just puts them into play.
And with campaign, Miles McBride, I'm pretty sure he's confirmed out. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that, but he had a pretty great game last time. He got the minutes, which is the important thing. And again, he's just another low on pivot off those other values, mix him in with them. You mentioned Cat, so he's actually the guy on the Knicks I'm getting the most exposure to. We saw his, what was he, like 50% owned on the last slate when he barely played in the fourth quarter?
Yep.
So talking about like Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart's minutes are pretty safe to project for the high 30s. Cats apparently are not. I mean, he was seeing consistently high 30s before that, but randomly 30, 25. And yeah, the Washington game was a blowout. Brooklyn, he was in foul trouble. But I see no reason to shy away from Cat. I'm pretty excited his ownership is so low. He's still projecting as the third overall play in the model at 9,400. I think Cat's an awesome play today in a close game, too.
Yeah, I think the price is really good there, and the Suns they're not any team to fear defensively.
And Nurkic, I mean, flip a coin if he gets benched. I mean, Cat versus Mason Plumlee, come on. On the other side of this one, there's a spot that I'm very interested in here too. He announced late into the starting lineup last time. Oso Ighodaro, projected for 1% ownership, 3,900 on DraftKings.
Yeah. I think Nurkic is still questionable, so if he's out, I'll like that play a little bit more. But and he played really good, so it's possible that they just continue to start him at the 4. I mean, there's nothing really stopping them from doing it. So I think he looks pretty solid.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, last game they started Okogie and Ighodaro. Is that right?
They started Iguodala at the 4, and then Plumlee at the 5.
With
With
Devin Booker, Tyus, and I think it was Okogie.
Dunn.
Oh, and Ryan Dunn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if Nurkic is back, I still think I like Iguodaro as long as he's starting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. 3,900 at 1%. I think he's definitely worth a play.
And then let's say Nurkic is ruled out late. This game is, it's 3 hours after the first game locks. Mason Plumlee is going to come in with very low ownership. His price is still appropriate if he ends up starting. Are you going to end up swapping onto a bunch of him?
Yeah, I would get there for sure. I think he's just another guy where you could swap to and hope for him in cash, or if you're battling for a takedown, swap to some Mason Plumlee and feel pretty good about it.
And then what do you think about Devin Booker?
He's kind of been inconsistent. Right now, I'm about with the field, and I feel pretty good. Well, actually, I have about 15% of him.
Let's see if I got there. Okay, I'm at like 12%, so right around the same. It's tough because teams are just honing in on it. And he's talking about, I'm not trying to score on double teams. And it's like, bro, you have to.
Yeah, yeah, he's pretty much their only offensive weapon.
Last guy I'll mention from Phoenix is Grayson Allen, who his ownership isn't egregious at all. It's only 8% on each site, but the model is just not even identifying him as a value. I mean, we saw that he has a 50-point ceiling because he did that like 7 times last season. Projected for 25 minutes. I mean, if there was a spot for Grayson Allen to, have that potential to go off, it would be in these situations, right? But are you getting to him tonight?
No, I'm currently not. I think he's fine to get to. I have 5% right now, and I'm pretty good with that.
I have exactly one lineup with him in my 150 set, so whatever that is. And the last game here, Orlando Clippers. Man, these 3 night games, that's going to be a fun night slate over on DK. I think the contests were slightly larger today, too. But Orlando Clippers, start with Orlando. Franz Wagner's been on a tear. Pretty interested in him. That's basically the only guy I'm getting a ton of here, though.
Yeah, I'm over the field on Franz as well. I think he's a solid play. I could see this game. I mean, you could tell by the total. It's probably going to play a little slower, but the ball's going to be in his hands. And then I'm also getting to some Goga here. I just think his ownership's too low.
It's kind of crazy that this total is 33 points lower than that Golden State Atlanta game. Jalen Green got ruled in. Disappointment.
Oh man.
Yeah, darn. Just got to take a rest, man. Well, takes away Amon Thompson. I guess we'll take another look at Houston in a second and see if we still want to play any of those guys. Anyone else from Orlando? I was kind of looking at Tristan Da Silva and Anthony Black, but Black might just be chasing because he had a monster game last time.
Yeah, I love Anthony Black, but no, not really. I don't mind getting in, mixing in a few of them, but not really getting to any myself right now.
Yeah, maybe Black is like, I don't know, if you're trying to save a min cash or trying to, like Smitty said, find the leverage to ship first, maybe he's a guy you swap in. But then on the other side of this game, we have Chris Dunn, who I'm still interested in. I think he's been playing pretty bad. At least he had one bad game, but projected for 3% ownership, 4,400. I think this is another pivot off of those Cleveland values. Keep in mind, those Cleveland values are definitely way better than Chris Dunn. This is just a guy you mix in a few percent.
Yeah, I like Chris Dunn and I like Kevin Porter Jr. in this game. Uh, Chris Dunn, his minutes upside is definitely higher right now with Norman Powell being out for a few games. So I think the upside for Dunn is definitely there at 3% ownership. He's definitely worth being over the field on.
Yeah, and I guess he's a pivot off Kevin Porter Jr., who's projected for 20% ownership. Yeah, basically
Yeah.
20% ownership on both sides, slightly cheaper. Do you think kind of maybe he has to step in and pick up a little bit more of the scoring slack that Norman Powell's leaving behind?
Dunn.
Kevin Porter.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't know who they start. I don't know if it's going to be Kevin Porter Jr. or I don't think they start Terrence Mann, but uh, I guess Kevin Porter Jr. is probably the favorite to start. So he's going to have some kind of offense because it's mainly been Powell and Harden, Zubac occasionally, but with no Powell, I mean, Harden just can't. They're just going to triple team him if that's the case. So I think they're going to need Kevin Porter Jr.'s offense.
Yeah, they're going to need someone else off the ball. So speaking of Harden, I mean, I don't think I got a single percent of him. Are you getting there?
I have exactly 1%. I'd like to get a little more than that. It's just kind of an ugly game, but his usage should definitely be there.
Yeah, it looks like the only two players I'm getting from the Clippers are Kevin Porter Jr. and Chris Dunn. I mean, I still have slight interest in Derek Jones from game to game, but maybe that's more of just a showdown play. And then Mo Bamba on the showdown is probably solid if they haven't raised his price yet.
Yeah, Amir Coffey is the other one I was thinking of. They could start Kevin Porter Jr. or Amir Coffey would probably be my two favorites to start, and
Nice.
they're near identical prices, so it don't really matter. I'd probably start with KPJ since he's the better fantasy producer.
And then the model doesn't love Zubac today. 8.90 OF index is fine, but the value score is poor. 7,400 at 2%. I mean, he's got to be worth taking some shots at 2% against Orlando, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like not much more than 2%, maybe like 3%.
Yep.
And Smitty, we got a pretty good question here. And I saw your other question, okay, about who's a priority from the 7 p.m. games. So do you make it a point to include guys in the late games, or are you okay with having lineups with just early games?
No, I prefer having lineups in the late games. Sometimes I'll just kind of give a little boost if I think there's going to be late news, but I don't really let it affect my early game exposures, really.
Yeah, I agree. I don't look at it as like I have to have someone from the late games. It typically works out that there's someone in the late games we're going to have interest in, because like late game hammer, whatever. It just happens to be the time of the day that the guy is playing.
Yep.
And then from the last 3 games, let's take a look at it. It's kind of cool that DraftKings. I like that DraftKings gave the extra 3 games today. I didn't yesterday, but it's actually a pretty decent slate. So New York, Phoenix.
Towns.
Is he in?
No, I'm just saying Towns is probably my favorite play from the late games.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Towns. I mean, let's just sort by. I mean, we have what, 8 guys with a double-digit OF index. It looks like a lot of the value we're probably going to want to pull from the early games and maybe get to some of the pay-ups here. Maybe we can mix in Lindy Waters. But I mean, sorting by ownership, there's only 4 guys from these last 3 games pulling more than 10% ownership. So regardless of the time of these games, this is probably a spot we want to try and get to a little bit more of these. Maybe even Atlanta, Golden State, if you can figure out who to play from there in that high total.
Yeah, I like that.
Someone mentioned Jalen Suggs in the chat. I bumped him just to make sure I got a few percent in my exposures, but not someone I'm like extremely interested in against the Clippers.
Yeah, me neither.
Julian Phillips, 3.7K. Smitty likely starts. Is that the same spot you thought Torrey Craig would start for?
Yeah, I kind of think. Did we get any news on that?
I don't think so. We had just a question in the chat.
Oh yeah, I kind of lean they start Torrey Craig, but I do think Julian Phillips has pretty good upside for minutes. I think that's who they want to play. It's just I can't see Phillips defending Giannis like that. They're just pretty much feeding him.
Yeah, if Phillips does end up starting, he's going to project as one of the better values on the Bulls. Like I guess it would be Josh Giddey, but I don't think this is. I think this is a lie. Um, 23 minutes for Phillips again. Another like basically min price pivot off of the value that we already know is good.
Yeah, the foul trouble is definitely there, but at his ownership, I think he's worth some shots.
Smitty, what's the best contest to play on FanDuel?
The depending on your bankroll, but I would say the nickels and the quarters, definitely.
Yeah, the first couple of seasons I took DFS very seriously. I grinded the hell out of the 5 cent and 25 cent contests over there. I think like my daily play was like $37.50 exactly, with like the $1 single entry, $2 single entry. Back then, the 25 cent was only a 20 max, but especially if you're just trying to learn DFS, I don't think there's a better way to learn because it's. I mean, you're probably going to lose at first, and it's just the cheapest, and then maybe you win.
Yeah, yeah, I love those, and I like the 100 mans, dollar, $2, just grinding those three maxes.
Yeah, so like most of my volume's on DraftKings, but those 100 mans, the pick and roll, I still play the 5 cent most days, and the satellites on FanDuel are what I focus on.
Yep.
I guess we'll build a dummy. I feel like I missed a couple questions in here. Was there any other players that maybe we missed that you just thought about you want to get back to?
We could talk about Indiana real quick.
Let's take a closer look at
Let me
them.
see. Just in case we didn't really touch on if Turner's out since he's still questionable.
And all right, and Spaniard a little late, starting from the beginning. Hey, turn that up to 1.5x speed.
Yep.
All right, so Turner, we do have him projected in. So if he's in, we kind of went over what we're doing. If Turner's out, what do you want to do?
I think Toppin's interesting, and then they also signed Moses Brown, and they expect him to play. So I think Moses Brown's probably their backup big today, either way. But I mean, it's possible they just throw him into the starting lineup, and he's min price. So I think he could be worth a click.
Yeah, because who's the other guy? Enrique Freeman?
Yeah,
Questionable. I mean, we obviously haven't projected for probably no minutes with Miles Turner in. Yeah, I agree with what Smitty said, and then I would probably just give another minute or two to Pascal, maybe another minute to Benedict Mathurin.
Yep.
All right, core plays. Let's do it. Let's see if we can do this off my actual exposures. So, are we just going to plug in Craig Porter and Ty Jerome into the dummy?
Yeah, I think you have to.
Yep. And they're both point guard only, which is sick. Are you doing this on FanDuel too? Because my top lineup on FanDuel right now has both of them at the point guard spots.
Yeah, I think they're both still good there too.
Anyone else from Cleveland that you want to get in here?
I think that's it.
I do, just because I remember this right now. I hate to jump back and forth, but Jalen Tyson is probably in line to get some minutes tonight. I don't think we really mentioned him. We have him projected for 18. He has not been good in the minutes he has gotten in the NBA so far, but I'm pretty sure he's really good at basketball, like in real life. So just someone to consider, maybe like a low percentage mix in with the other guys.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
And then from the Pelicans side, what's your top priority?
For me, it's Reeves, but I guess we could go with I like Jamal Cain.
Yeah, I was going to say mine's Jamal Cain too. And Reeves is a great GPP play, but I don't think you can play him in cash.
Yep.
Not that we're building a cash build here anyway, but anyone else from the Pelicans? I mean, do we want to see what it looks like before we decide on Brandon Boston?
Yeah, we could see what else we could build.
All right, so beyond those, let's see.
Giannis.
My next, Giannis. No reason not to. I mean, against Chicago, we love Giannis against Chicago. So these are actually my four highest exposed players on DraftKings right now in our dummy. And after that, I got Franz Wagner. I bumped Javonte Green up a pretty hard amount, and Robert Williams and Cat.
See, I like Sengun more if Turner's out, but I like him either way. He's one of my higher exposed.
Okay, so either way, it looks like we're interested in paying up for at center.
Yeah, I like going Cat. We both agreed on Cat.
All right, let's plug in Cat. We have 5,800 left. I don't want to get too crazy because, I mean, we could start filling in with like Oso Ighodaro or Jake LaRavia.
Let's see.
Dylan Brooks.
KPJ.
We could throw in KPJ. Is he showing up as a model approved value, though? I didn't even check. KPJ? He's kind of model approved.
Yeah, kind of.
Model doesn't hate him anyway. So I think that does he have shooting guard eligibility, though? Junior? No, he does not.
No, he don't. Never mind.
So this is something that's kind of interesting. With all three of these guys, Jerome, Porter Jr., both Porter Juniors having a point guard only, if you're playing all three of them in a lineup, it's just going to destroy your flexibility. It's fine. It's okay. I'm not putting a rule against it. Just keep that in mind. Do we want to throw Rob Williams in here instead?
Yeah, we could do that.
Let's do Robert Williams. Oh, and he has forward eligibility, even better. So we already paid up for Kat and Giannis. I don't think we can fit another pay up, can we? Oh, we can. Franz Wagner. We have the value to do it. Fill out the lineup with Lindy Waters. If Garrison Matthews starts for some reason, maybe him. Luke Kennard, kind of a deep play, but 3,600 sounds fine if no one's going to play him. Anyone else that you want to mention that could be a candidate for the core?
No, I like that right there.
Yeah, it seems pretty strong to me here. $15 on FanDuel, first place, 100K. I hope you win it, man. We had a big NFL winner a couple nights ago. What, $60 into 86,000 on the showdown? Yeah. Shout out to Candid, I think. Thoughts on Giddey, Smitty?
He's fine. I think he maybe gets like an extra minute. Like his floor might be a little better with Patrick Williams out, but I don't really love him.
Yeah, I'm on the train right now that the Bulls are already sick of him. So I'm just kind of mentally docking him slightly in my head. But the model thinks he's okay. Checks out as fine value. Delano Banton. I meant to mention him earlier, dude. Like the fact that we're finally projecting him for over 20 minutes. He's showing up in my exposures like every day now. We have him for 19, 0 ownership. If Simons is out, I think we can play him some. If Simons is in, he's probably just a really deep GPP play in that case.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it.
So anything else you want to mention before we get out of here? We do have the Discord coming up with Jayhawk. That'll start in about 30 minutes since we have a little bit later vlog today.
No, I think that's pretty much it. There's a little bit of news to monitor, so just be sure you're in the Discord and we'll be dropping that news.
Yeah, and instructions for that are in the description below. On your way out, we would appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button, hit that like button. It really helps us out a lot. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.